Three, two, one. Hello, Internet. Welcome to YouTube. And my name is Caleb, and I'm here with my friend John, and both of us have had long days. But we are here to talk about some news that has happened.
Yes. So earlier today, a Vanity Fair article came out,
Mhm.
and it was talking about Dave Filoni, the Ahsoka show, Hayden Christensen, and Ray Stevenson, Rosario Dawson. And I think there's a lot of interesting things in that article. But we're mainly here to talk about the fact that Dave Filoni has been promoted to the CCO of Lucasfilm. And I'm pretty sure that means Chief Creative Officer,
Mhm.
which is pretty big. Um, for reference, that is, I think while Kevin Feige is also the president of Marvel, he is also the CCO of Marvel. So that's kind of where he stands
So
right
what
now.
what level of power does this give Filoni? What can he do now
So
that he couldn't do earlier?
so now this means everything before it's put into production runs through him.
Like, as in he
So
gets to approve whether or not they film it, or he
he
approves
also gets
scripts,
to
or
he basically gets to, for all intents and purposes, he gets to make everything fit the narrative better instead of having random pieces of content from different directors. And he also can make sure he'll be very involved in the movies going forward, which I think is fantastic. Um, I think the big thing here is number one, the movies. The movies is a huge thing. Number two, this is actually really good for a lot of different fans of different shows in Star Wars going forward. This is great for Andor fans. This is great for Kenobi fans if we're going to do season 2, because that means everything is going to go through him. And one of what I've heard, like the biggest complaint with Andor is that it's great. It's got great writing, great character, but it doesn't really feel that much Star Wars. And something like this, where maybe you got like Andor season 2, Tony Gilroy can go and do his thing, and Dave Filoni can be like, "Hey, put this, this, and this in here, make it a little bit more Star Wars," and boom, stuff like that. So that's what you're looking at here, assuming it all goes well. And I don't know how this is all going to work in relation to Kathleen Kennedy, because that's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. I think it's pretty cool that he's in that position. I think it's well earned. He definitely, as far as the world of Star Wars, I would say, obviously aside from George Lucas, he's the most knowledgeable about that, especially at Lucasfilm. So I think having someone like that kind of oversee kind of how everything connects together is awesome. And it's about dang time that we get something like this happening.
Well, I think someone else surely filled this position earlier, right? It's not coming from a vacuum. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna completely disagree on a lot of that.
Hmm.
Having listened to a lot of Star Wars theory, basically a lot more Star Wars fans and people sort of in that group, it's bizarre to me to be hearing over the last couple weeks people talking about poor choices that Dave Filoni has made, even in Clone Wars, Rebels, especially Ahsoka, and even some Mando season 2
What
stuff.
choices have you heard about Clone Wars? I'm very curious.
I can't remember all of the specifics. I just remember a lot of people
Was it okay?
complaining.
Question: was it from the Ryan Mahler Star Wars theory stream? Because I did listen to that,
I
and
think it was from a couple different streams of theirs.
okay, because I do have thoughts on that, but I also don't want to
Yeah,
sound like
not
I'm
to
just
derail
straight up
it.
attacking them. But like, I disagree with a lot of what Ryan said, even though I do like him as a person and as a YouTuber. I do disagree with a lot of what he said.
In any case, it's bizarre to me to hear lots of complaints from various Star Wars fans and then the same people celebrating this decision. It's weird to see lots of people criticizing Dave Filoni as a creator and as an overseer, Even to the point that Star Wars Theory, I think on a stream, said that he was like a, oh, what did he say? He said he was like a dirty,
He
like
said
filthy glass of
Ahsoka.
water in the middle of a desert.
No, this is what he said. He said Ahsoka, the show Ahsoka, is like the half-eaten donut in the middle of the desert, which very much confused me. I actually really do
Sure.
like Star Wars Theory, but it confused me to see him go from like really liking the show to saying that, and I was like,
Right. Well, I'm
okay,
hearing
I
that
love
kind
the
of thing
guy.
from
Like,
other
I was just a bit
creators
confused.
as well. And
Yeah, I
it's
have.
really bizarre to me. And I think lots of people who saw the show, in reference to your point about Andor and other shows, lots of people I know who saw the show thought it was so great because it remained untouched by executive hands, and that's how they argued it got through sort of the, basically it was so it was such a niche show that no one cared about that it escaped the eyes of Kathleen Kennedy and many
Mhm.
executives. And so
Yeah,
I think it could
I'm
only
not.
be bad for Andor.
I'm not gonna debate Andor a lot until I've actually seen it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think. I mean, I don't think either of us have seen it, so I don't think that's something that we can really touch on until at least me personally, I'm not going to really touch on it until like after I've seen it, so that way I can actually have validity to what I'm saying instead of crapping on or promoting something I haven't even seen. Um, as far as Ahsoka goes, Ahsoka is episodes 4, 5, and 6 are really good. They are really good Star Wars. I do believe that the writing is weird in 7 and 8. I don't quite understand it. Now, on that note, everyone's like, I think, but see, that's the thing. Not, oh my God, it's fine. On that note, um, I've noticed a lot of people really liked Ahsoka. Some people had issues with it, and a lot of people are basically comparing Dave Filoni to Ahsoka. They're like, "Oh, this is what he is." I would also remind you that Tales of the Jedi came out last year. That was something that was completely untouched by corporate entities, and it was all Dave, and it was a masterpiece. Like, I dare somebody to try and break that down as if it's a bad show, because you can't do that. Maybe you can nitpick like little slight areas, but it's very hard to break Tales of the Jedi down. So I do think that is interesting. As far as Andor, dude, I really want to see it. See, now, especially with all this, now that makes me want to see it even more. I need to freaking find a slot of time where I can just sit down and actually watch
Yeah,
that show.
no kidding. I've been kind
Because
of waiting
I,
because I told a couple people I kind of wanted to watch it with them, so I've been kind of hanging back.
mhm, yeah,
But I'm definitely interested. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't obviously have that much of an investment in who's in charge at Lucasfilm. I guess most of basically all of my data about this would just be observing as different people react to the information.
mhm,
And I think it's interesting. As we said a couple weeks ago, Star Wars is completely splintered into so many different fan bases.
yeah.
But it
And
seems
so,
like from the stream I listened to today, it seems like most people are pretty happy with this decision.
yeah. Well, it's because, okay, here's why I think overall it's a good thing. Now, I will say, like, his writing in Ahsoka is weird, and I could go on a whole tangent about how I think it should have been animated, because I think if you take the original storyline of Ahsoka that did leak a while, like years ago, it was going to be animated. It was going to be like and normally it's like a 22 episode season. Each episode is like 20 to 25 minutes. I honestly think that would have been a lot better instead of having 8 episodes that are like 40 minutes apiece. It and you can't do much because that's like their Disney's live action standards or whatever now. I don't know why they believe other shows need to be like that, but had it been animated, I do think you could have fleshed out so much more stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and that's a whole thing that I can talk about. But I will say, aside from George Lucas, obviously, and I think maybe you could talk about Sam Witwer in this case as well. Though Sam Witwer does work very closely with Dave Filoni, I do know he worked. He said on the stream that he worked in some aspect on the Ahsoka show. We're still not sure what it was, but one thing Dave has a very good concept of is what George Lucas considers to be canon. He does know that for a fact. A lot of people like to say Legends is canon before Disney took over. That's not true. George even said himself, it is the movies and Clone Wars. That's what it was originally. So Dave already has a good grip on that. He has a good grip of overall concept of Star Wars. He's read all the legends and whatnot. He knows all about that. And so the problem is we have so many Star Wars projects, dude. So much crap. And none of it's connected. You got Kenobi over here doing its thing. You got Andor over here doing its thing. You got Acolyte. No one asked for the what's that show? Skeleton Crew. I couldn't even remember the name of it. Skeleton Crew's a thing now. You got like Book of Boba that was forced into making because why not? So you got all these things and none of it works together. None of it works together. And obviously some of these shows do kind of characters. The Boba Fett got a character assassinated. I would argue that Obi-Wan got character assassinated. You got all this stuff. And it's all very disjointed. And so I think if you have somebody like Dave Filoni at the helm, it will help things be a little bit more joined together. It helps stupid decisions character-wise not to be made.
I think from what I know, I think most people would agree that Dave Filoni obviously is trying to connect a lot of things together, and that'll provide hopefully some cohesion to all of the narratives. However, I'd say I don't think the problem, from what I can tell, is that they're all disconnected. It's that they're bad.
That is a big problem.
If Marvel
That
were
is,
say Echo doesn't connect to anything else in Marvel, we wouldn't criticize it for being disconnected. It would just be like whether or not it's good or bad. Now, if it's
no,
bad and disconnected, then it just adds insult to injury, basically.
yeah, yeah. No, I do get your point, and that's another thing I was going to go into. So I would look at Dave's treatment of Anakin Skywalker in Ahsoka, and I want you to compare it to the treatment of Obi-Wan in the Kenobi show, or Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett in some of those other episodes. And I think you'll find a big difference in how he treats the fundamentals of an OG character that is very important to fans. Anakin was very respected in the show in Ahsoka. He wasn't character assassinated at all. He was himself, and I would argue and debate any day of the week that Boba Fett and Kenobi were not they're not even close. So you need shows like that, decisions like that being run when somebody has this show that they're making about Obi-Wan Kenobi, it needs to be run through somebody that knows what they're talking about when it comes down to like the fundamentals of these original characters. And obviously fan base wise, I think that's very important right about now that Lucasfilm kind of get their crap together in that regard.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess everyone will. I guess give it. How long do you think before we could expect to see the changes come about in the IP? Like, do you think it would be 2, 3, 4 years?
So that I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So he says in the article, he says, I get to look at the shows eventually, but it's not till like a lot of work has been done.
Right.
Now, this is where I'm wondering, like shows like Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, I'm wondering how much
Have you heard the premise of Acolyte, by the way? It seemed interesting.
okay, dude, Acolyte's a thing we could talk about for a long time because they began with some of the worst marketing I think I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
yeah, yeah.
And then later on, they brought in the cool stuff. And it's like, okay, why didn't you start with that? Why don't you go, oh, if you like the fight from the Phantom Menace, you'll like this show. Start with that. Dude, if they would have said that right off the bat, I'd have been like, oh, dude, I'm interested. Let's see this. But they start off, which they're like, oh, it's about a strong female character. And
I
look,
hate those.
I am scarred from the sequels, okay? I have trauma from the sequels. I don't hate female characters, but when you take a character like Rey, make her overpowered for no reason, and then say, "Oh, if you don't like her, you're sexist." I'm a little bit nervous when somebody comes out for their show and is like, "Oh, it's a strong female character." I'm like, "Oh, so does that mean you just wrote a horrible character and that's your excuse so you can just like get away with having lazy writing?"
Yeah,
So,
did you hear the full premise though?
dude, it's been a while.
Because
I haven't
apparently
done
I
too much.
can't remember if it was. It could be for something else, but I'm pretty sure it was for the acolyte. Something about some Jedi wanting a force sensitive child in a village in exchange for
Oh,
protection, something like that.
I
Uh,
do remember that. Dude, that was a while ago. Holy crap.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Time flies.
So I mean, like even like I don't think there's a problem with that being disconnected, even if it's
Hmm.
even like I think lots of people have been clamoring for Star Wars that is set like 1,000 or so years before and or after whatever events you're experiencing now.
Yeah. No, I get that argument completely, and I think you do make a lot of sense. I would argue that maybe some of like the big Star Wars projects do need to be connected
Yeah.
to an extent. So obviously you can have your side ones, but my biggest thing is that at the end, before they shoot these things, you run it by somebody that's like, okay, change this. Don't character assassinate this guy. People are gonna lose their minds. You know, stuff like that. It needs to be run by somebody
Yeah.
that I don't know, maybe served at the feet of George Lucas. That maybe it's a good idea. So I also am curious how this will work out with Kathleen Kennedy because Kathleen Kennedy's just a whole nother topic that we could go on and on about. She
From
does seem to have a lot of control,
from what I hear, she's
which,
meant to retire next year.
dude, they've been saying that for the last 5 years.
Yeah, but her from what I
Her
hear, her
contract's up,
contract
right?
expires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all thought it was gonna happen after Indy 5 because that movie did so bad. And then it just like didn't happen. We're like, oh dang, she's still in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's like one more year, right? Before they can do it like peacefully without making a big dramatic mess of it.
Yeah. I think they should get someone like Jon Favreau to replace, or like somebody that's good on like the business side of things and the producing side of things that isn't gonna just micromanage everything.
Sure. So I sorry, I guess I interrupted the question. How many years before you think you'll see a change in Star Wars content based on this decision?
I think at Star Wars Celebration in 2025 in Japan, I think that's when we're going to start to see some changes.
Okay.
Because obviously he needs to work on stuff. It'll be a full over a year until then. And then at Star Wars Celebration, they can announce things. And they put that way in the future, I think, for good reason.
Hmm.
I don't think they should be doing a celebration every year like Marvel and throwing like 15 movies up on the slate that like never get shot. Um, so I think it's good they're doing that. I think Den of Nerds talked about this on his video, and I would definitely. I think he thinks Star Wars Celebration, the next one, is when we'll see changes, and I 100% agree. It is the most logical decision. I don't know because Acolyte and Skeleton Crew have already been shot. I don't think that many changes will be made to them,
Hmm.
unless something crazy happens. I don't know. Skeleton Crew. I don't know why they're making that show.
Although
I really don't. But
extensive
then again,
reshoots aren't exactly uncommon anymore. So,
that is true. That is true. But then again, everyone was like, "Oh, who asked for Andor?" And then it was like better than Book of Boba and Kenobi. So
mhm.
maybe it'll be good. I don't know. And then Acolyte. I have my fears regarding Acolyte, but some stuff they say sounds cool. So I guess we'll see.
Who
I mean, I
knows?
think did they were supposed to see Plagueis in the show? I can't remember. Darth Plagueis?
I thought I remembered something about Yoda, something like that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yoda would make sense because he's got the age to fit into that TV series. I could have sworn I'll have to go look at it. I heard like
Yeah.
I think it was Darth Plagueis that was supposed to make a cameo or something. I don't know.
So is that what we have to say about Dave Filoni stuff? Because a whole bunch, like a whole lot of stuff has happened in the last couple of weeks, or in the last few
Yeah,
days, even.
yeah. I do. Okay, real quick. This was something I was thinking about real quick, and it kind of ties Dave Filoni to Kevin Feige a little bit. So before this, I wasn't really aware what a CCO was. I wasn't aware that Kevin Feige sort of had that title. And I found out today. I found out what that means. And that doesn't mean that just all the movies and shows get run by you, by the way. It means movies, shows, books, comic books, and games.
Mm-hmm.
That all goes through you. Kevin Feige's the CCO. So what's going on? Why is this just makes me not because now I really know like sort of like what the CCO does.
Oh, did you
This
not
makes
realize
me
Kevin Feige was in charge of like everything?
no, I knew he was in charge of everything, but like the fact that dude, like games and like books are run by him, dude, that makes me not trust him as much, dude.
Well, from
Like
the
I
from the book that I read, it seemed to argue that Kevin Feige was stretched so thin, and that's why we've been getting
Mhm.
poor quality things,
I
which I
also
don't really buy, but sure.
I've also heard the talk that, and this is not uncommon for people in a business to do this. They delegate it to others because they're stretched so thin. And the
Hmm.
people that it's delegated to can mess it up. So that I hope that's what it is. I really do, because I think that's best case scenario is that he delegated it and they messed it up. Worst case scenario is that this is what he meant to do, and that scares me just a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, doesn't seem like Marvel's in too great shape right now. I think I listened to a podcast on Tuesdays called The Real BBC. It's like it's I don't know. It's good for news. So they were talking a little bit about the news that they were looking to make Silver Surfer a girl. That seems like it's not actually going to happen at all. It seems like someone twisted a headline that way. So it
Hmm.
seems safe on that front. We've already talked about the Pedro Pascal casting. And besides that, I don't think there's been a whole lot of uh,
Did we?
MCU news recently.
Quick question. Did we talk about Sue Storm being the lead of the Fantastic Four?
Is that a thing?
I need to pull up. See, I don't want to just spew out bull crap without having a source.
Yeah, I didn't
But
see
it's
that
been it's
anywhere.
been talked about for a long time from
Interesting.
a lot of the leakers that like let's just say in theory, Sue Storm is the lead. How would you feel about that?
Seems like a misstep, especially in this day and age. Seems like they
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to. I mean, everyone, especially with Barbie, seems to be talking
Mm,
about the idea that movies are gonna do pretty well if you cater to the fan base, especially with like Five Nights at Freddy's. That's
yeah.
why things like the Marvels would do so poorly because your fan base should be comic book fans,
Hmm.
ideally. So, yeah, it seems like Fantastic Four fans probably wouldn't like to see that. So it's probably a misstep.
Yeah. Um, while we're on the topic of Marvel, I've seen a lot of YouTubers talking about this, and I want to get your thoughts. Apparently, directors like Nia DaCosta and what's the guy that did Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Oh, I can't remember.
I don't remember his name, dude. That's so bad. Was just listening
To
to
be
videos
fair,
on this.
that show was pretty well directed. Wasn't well written, but it was very well
Yeah.
like shot.
So apparently, a lot of the creators behind these movies, like, they get denied a lot of really cool things that they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I believe I don't know for sure, but let's say, for example, like the Marvels. I heard. I'm pretty sure this is true. I'm pretty sure she wanted to like have Galactus be hinted at and like do all this cool stuff in the Marvels. like that would go over a lot better. I think the Marvels would have gone over a lot better with audience if like you kind of lean into that cool comic book stuff. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, old Cap and Spider-Man supposed to be in there,
Oh.
and Marvel pulled the plug on it.
Well, obviously, yeah, Chris Evans wasn't going to come back, and there's no way they were going to use another Tom Holland card on that.
Yeah. So what do you think about the possibility of a lot of creators in Marvel wanting to do really cool comic book stuff, and Marvel is kind of just shutting them down and giving them bare bones to work with?
Uh, so I think, yeah, it's interesting. Especially given that you'd probably want to look to the writers first, other than the directors. Marvel, as I just said, I finished the book. Can't remember exactly what it was called. MCU, the Empire of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, something like that. And it basically is talking about how Kevin Feige is super spread thin, and I keep on hearing from different people who talk to YouTubers that Kevin Feige's mantra is essentially just trust the process whenever anyone's worried about the product. That's just what he says. So,
Yeah.
uh, I I could definitely see that happening, but I think when you're talking about especially Tom Holland's Spider-Man and old Cap, those are very logical decisions. As far as Galactus goes, I don't know if that was an opportunity that the director really wanted to have, and Kevin Feige said
Hmm.
no. Then I guess you better hope that he has a plan going forward. I don't know. The Marvels wasn't good, so that's
Yeah.
about all I can
So
say.
the thing is, like, I feel like I've been telling myself, at the beginning of Phase 4, oh, trust the process, trust the process. Well, everything's mid or garbage right
Everything's
now.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem is, like, they don't go for it. They don't go for it at all. Like, I'm sorry, Moon Knight is mid, and it could have been awesome. You have a lot you could pull from. Moon Knight could have been great. Falcon and the Winter Soldier could have been great.
Hmm.
There's so many things that could have been great, and they do a mediocre, watered down version of it. And you have to wonder if like if some of the creators or writers or directors are getting pulled back on this dude, maybe that's what's making people lose interest because they go to sit down to watch this show or they go and pay money to see a movie at the theater and it's just mediocre and they're expecting greatness and it's just been watered down by the studio.
Well, I do know that the studio interferes in other ways. I'm not sure about like story decisions necessarily, but I do know that basically every single Marvel project gets completely reshot at some point. This is something that they continue to do. Multiverse of Madness, they didn't have a script as they were shooting. Quantumania,
Yeah.
the ending was completely different, and obviously the trailer that we got showed a very different story. I don't know if you remember that trailer that like made the movie look potentially good.
Oh, the Quantum Mania one?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember the Comic Con one, or I don't know if it was D23 or something. It leaked. It was one that was never showed to the public, and it is. I think it's like at the beginning, Kang goes, "Are you an Avenger?" And like Key and Ant-Man kind of go back and forth, and he goes, "Have I killed you before?" And it cuts, and like the crowd went crazy. I was excited for that movie so much, dude. When
Yeah.
I saw that, I like somebody had like recorded it and I got a hold of the video and I watched it. I was like, dude, this looks sick. Let's go. And this is probably why I hate that movie so much is because they set my expectations high with the marketing
Well,
and then
yeah.
they just proceeded to flop, bro.
Well, yeah, the point being that, like, even if Marvel has a fully shot and rendered movie on their hands, part of the reason these budgets are so inflated is that someone will be like, oh, I want more humor in here. And they'll just reshoot the movie half the time. And
Yeah,
it seems like, in that sense, the studio is definitely screwing over the creators.
definitely. Dude, I hate MCU humor so much.
The Marvels was so funny. Oh,
I can make
dude.
what?
Shoot, I can't show it on stream. Uh,
I
they came out with a trailer for the Marvels today, and it was
post release.
yeah, it was bad.
I'll check
Uh,
it out afterwards.
yeah. So I
Dude.
have a couple before you talk about Invincible or whatever. I have a
Hmm.
couple random headlines that I read on Twitter
Okay.
for random movies I like. First thing, The Killer. Everyone's talking about The Killer, directed by David Fincher. I watched it and I liked it, and everyone seems to have thoughts because everyone thought this was going to be John Wick, and it was like the yet more mature version of John Wick, and it was cool. And I'm gonna make a gaming stream and talk about it sometime.
Is it a movie?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
What's it on? Dude, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's
If
pretty
it's
good.
like John Wick, I love those sort of movies,
No,
so
no,
I will
no, no,
definitely
no,
check
no. That's what I'm
it
saying.
out.
It's not like John Wick. It's like
It's better
more.
than John Wick?
It's more mature than John Wick.
Is it like The Equalizer more?
I've heard that it's like more mature than The Equalizer. It's like an
Okay.
assassin, but extremely realistic.
Oh, bet.
So
Yeah, I'll check that
yeah.
out. That sounds fun.
A couple other news things. Seems like that Penguin show is coming out sometime. That's gonna be interesting.
Oh, I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
released like some images for it.
it wasn't. I think like having sat on that movie for a while, it was not great. At the time, my experience in the theater with the Batman was actually really enjoyable. Um, so I'll check it out. I'll give my thoughts on it.
Yeah. The other things were hopefully House of the Dragon season 2 trailers coming out soon.
Bro, we definitely got to do a stream just like breaking that thing down, just
Absolutely.
shot by shot.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. And then oh, you haven't seen The Gentleman directed by Guy Ritchie, but it was a really cool movie, and now he's making a TV show starring Giancarlo Esposito, and I can't wait. I'm
Cool,
super
cool.
excited for it.
Oh, in other news, Ted is getting a prequel series.
What is Head?
Ted.
Ted. Oh, yeah, I did see that.
That'll be entertaining.
I haven't seen either
Um,
of the Ted movies, have you?
dude, they're so funny.
Oh, you have?
I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen most of them.
Okay.
We should definitely sit down and watch those
Should
sometime because
set up
they're
a.
actually really funny.
Sounds good. All right.
Um, how do you feel about Marvel basically taking a break next year with just Deadpool 3, but Sony, just good old Sony coming in and be like, bro, here's 3 movies. And they're all, let's just talk about what 3 movies those are, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You got Madam Web.
Yes, can't wait.
You got
So
Craven the
excited.
Hunter.
Oh boy. Yay.
You got Venom 3.
Oh, they're making a third one?
Yeah, that's coming out next year.
That's so
That's slated to
annoying.
drop next year.
I hated the first. No, I didn't hate the first one. I really didn't like the first one. And I couldn't be
Yeah,
bothered to watch the second.
I think out of those 3, Venom 3 has the most potential just because like obviously he's more popular.
Mm-hmm.
Those movies can be pretty funny. Uh I I do wish they were rated R. I
See,
think Let There Be Carnage would have been good if it would have been rated R because there wasn't any carnage.
Craven
And it
feels like that's a character you can make a really good movie out of if but then they released the trailer and it was just the most basic thing.
dude, he gets bit by a radioactive lion.
It's just such a lame like I watched that trailer
Yeah.
once and never again. It's a so lame. Oh, and that's right. Joker 2's coming out too next year,
Oh
which I'm
yeah.
excited about kind of.
That'll be fun. Because I actually did like Joker 1.
Yeah.
Even though like I wouldn't just pop it on just to have a good time. Probably pop it on when I'm like in a depressed mood.
I'm planning on rewatching it, but I really liked it.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sony, dude, remember when all those rumors were coming out that they were developing like Spider-Man 4 and The Amazing Spider-Man 3?
Nah, dude, this is what they're putting their energy
Like
into.
they have Andrew there. Everyone loves Andrew. Finally, everyone came to the position that Andrew is the coolest Spider-Man because he is. And Tobey
Mhm.
Maguire, like easily set him up. He's not doing anything. Give him a fourth movie. Make it super cool.
Dude, that fourth movie, if they made a fourth Spider-Man movie, $1 billion. Easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Easiest billion of your life, bro. Maybe two. Dude, maybe two.
And
But 1 billion for sure.
yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home won over the nerdrotics of the world. So Tom Holland's
Mhm.
where are the Spider-Man movies exactly? Okay.
Dude, why are they making like movies with Spider-Man characters
Oh wait, that is some news
without
we need to talk about.
Spider-Man?
That is some news
What?
we need to talk about though, because apparently the rumors that Spider-Man 4 is gonna bring together Craven, Venom, and Madam Web.
Yeah.
Did you hear about
So
that?
I did hear about that, and that it's all going to be in the MCU,
Oh yeah.
which means technically next year we'll have 4 MCU movies, bro.
Dude, does this mean Morbius will be canon?
It means Morbius will be canon.
Let's
We're
go.
gonna sit down and watch that movie someday. Like I'm gonna
Someday.
make it happen, dude. That is a movie. It's
Yeah.
so funny because the fans tricked the studio into re-releasing it in theaters. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, that's because it was so great. Um, so yeah, Spider-Man 4. I think we all just wanted to see like Tom Holland, maybe some more grounded stuff. I don't think anyone really wants more multiverse, Madam Web, Venom merging with the MCU type of thing. That's just my pulse. I could be wrong.
Nah, I think you're onto something.
Seems like the multiverse thing hasn't really worked out, except for the Miles Morales movies. So
Yeah. Well, why don't they put more energy into those movies? Because those movies are like actually good.
I think it's I don't know. It takes a lot of time for them to do the animation, something like that. It's the only excuse I could come out for why Arcane is delayed so long. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sony verse is chugging right along. They're gonna be making, well, hey, at least these movies, like, they can't be Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania bad, right?
Dude, I don't know, man. Have you seen Morbius?
Well, Morbius is bad, but it's not that bad, right?
Dude, you need to watch that movie at some
Okay,
point.
okay,
It
okay.
the ending of the movie, I remember when the credits rolled, I was sitting there shocked, not because of the way they ended or like the cliffhanger, but because the ending, like the final 10 minutes of the movie was some of the stupidest crap I've ever seen. And the way it was just all strung together, I had to sit there and process it all for a second. It's like, wait, so you guys decided to do this decision and just slam it all together in the final 10 minutes. That's so weird.
That's right, because
We'll watch it at some point,
you
dude.
were one of the two people that went to see that movie in
Dude,
theaters, right?
yeah, dude, I remember that day. It was so depressing. And then me and my friend, who's now my roommate, we were both having a bad day. And then we were like, bro, let's go watch Morbius. We went to the theater, and when they're supposed to play ads, they're supposed to play trailers before the movies. And for 15 minutes, it was just a black screen. And then and then the theater has their opening like logo thing, which is all these like balls drop, these
Oh
pool
yeah,
balls
yeah.
dropping. Scared the crap out of us. Because you're sitting there in the dark for 15 minutes with nothing. And then it's just and we're like, what the crap? And then, and then there's this voice just all around you. You just lost it. That was the most entertaining part of the entire experience, was that right there, because it was so funny. Yeah, so my Morbius experience was something else.
Well, it was the movie of the year, so
Oh, dude. Won all the Oscars.
absolutely. So yeah, had things to say about Invincible. Was that? Oh, have
Yes.
you been keeping up with Gen V? I've been hearing only bad things about it.
Really? I
Yeah.
gotta, we were gonna finish it this Thanksgiving, actually. I got spoiled that, like, Homelander shows up in the final episode,
Mm,
and apparently it's really cool, so I kinda wanna check it out now, because I like Homelander.
cool.
I don't know. I really like Gen V so far. Um, yeah. It's a bit much sometimes, but I did like it.
Nice.
As far as Invincible goes, so I read Compendium 1 on Sunday. I just sat down and read it. And man, it's so good. And I like how the changes that the show makes from the comics are actually better. Like they're good changes. Um Makes the story flow together more, and they race swapped some characters and they gender swapped a character, and it's fine. Like it works.
Hmm,
I don't know how else to describe it. Like I have no problem with it whatsoever. Um
nice.
so yeah, it dude, read some of what's to come, super excited. If they're going by the comic, next episode is about to slap. So I'm super excited for Thursday.
Cool. Well, we'll have to give like a series breakdown or review when it's all out.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about all I had. I really am excited for that Gentleman TV show. It's, well, I don't know if it's one of my favorite movies. I showed it to Ajax though, and he really loved it. I think it's one of his favorites. It's a great movie. And Guy Ritchie's pretty cool. So I'm excited for that and for a couple other things. I could have sworn there was some other news, but oh yeah, that's right. They were gonna make Captain Marvel gay and they cut it out, which is kind of funny.
Oh yeah, that was a thing. It's probably for the best that they cut that out because we would have had a lot of arguments on Twitter and a
That
lot
would have
of
been
videos being made, and
so
we would have just
funny.
repeated the entire process. So yeah,
I like Captain Marvel being straight. I will. I don't care who knows it. There we go.
I
Anyway,
mean, he actually did have good chemistry with the guy.
I guess. I can't remember
Yeah,
that
I mean
movie
for like the
already.
2 minutes they were together.
Down the memory hole it went. I can't remember a
Yeah,
thing. So, yeah, should we cap it off there? Make some shorts out
yeah,
of that, I
works for
guess.
me.
All right. Well,
All right,
subscribe and tell everyone how much you love us.
all right.